In human design, your profile is the archetype that you are here to play. So, human design doesn't really have personality types, so to speak, but I like to say that if it did, your profile would be yours. Your profile also tells you more about how you're here to play out your purpose, how you're built to connect with others, how you learn, and how you will share your gifts in a way that serves you and other people. Now, your profile is composed of two distinct energies, both of which will be represented by a number between 1 and 6. So every profile is number slash other number. And both of those numbers will be between 1 and 6. And each of those numbers that you have there are going to be some kind of archetype in and of themselves. So, for example, the 1 line is the investigator archetype, and the 6 line is the role model archetype. And then when you put these two that you have in your profile together, they then create this new energy of your profile, which has its own archetype. So it's kind of this 1 + 1 = 3 sort of thing. And both of these two energies are just as important as the other, but they won't be experienced in the same way. And here's why. So the first number in your profile is called your conscious line. And just like any other part of your chart that we call the conscious or personality side, this represents your mind. More specifically, it represents the parts of you, the energies, the qualities, abilities, talents, challenges, patterns, etc., that your mind sees as you. So it's what you would identify with as yourself. Like, this is the line that represents the energy that you would most likely, out of the two different energies here, look at and say, like, oh, look, it's me. That is me. And that's because this is what your mind is most privy to on a regular basis. It could be like what you only see most of the time. And then the second number in your profile is called your unconscious profile line, if you can believe it. And like any other part of your unconscious or design chart, this represents the body. This is what the body is drawn towards. This is what, how your body expresses itself. This is what the body be. And this is just as much a part of you, like I said before, but your mind just isn't as clued into this stuff. So it probably wouldn't seem as much like this is you. It's unlikely that you would identify as closely with this kind of archetype. And it's actually the people around you, just watching you live your life, who would see this the most. So they would probably identify you with your unconscious line. And here's the thing about the unconscious line or the second line in your profile. It's actually unlikely that you would be completely unaware of it. So the word unconscious is a little bit misleading. It's just that most of the time it's not going to be the thing that you see, and it's not going to be what you most closely associate with. But you do probably know this about yourself because, one, other people have told you you are this way or treated you like you are, or you've had enough experiences where you realize, like, oh, seems mayhaps people perceive me to be like this. And then also, too, there are times when the unconscious part of your chart will become something that you're consciously aware of. Like, it will pop out at you and you'll be like, whoa, where did that come from, right? Because you weren't necessarily aware of it as it was developing or as it was happening. But then there can be some kind of event, or you do some sort of thing, or suddenly you feel this urge or need and you go, oh, I see it. I see it now, right? Can't not see it. Now, here's why this is important. Here's why I'm telling you all of this. So the tools and the practices that we use in human design, so the advice, the guidelines, all the things that we offer you to help you experiment with this system and use it in your life, it's all very, very body-based and giving the body what it needs in order to thrive and do what it needs to do and give you intuitive hits on what to do next or know where to be in order to receive opportunities or who's correct for you, that kind of stuff. And not only that, that on its own is huge, but this is also so the body can support the mind in doing what it needs to do. Because in human design, the idea is not that the mind is bad or it's useless or we should just completely ignore it. We definitely don't think that. We believe it's powerful and it is useful, but it needs to have that body stuff locked in so that the mind can actually work the way it's supposed to. And it's interesting. Most of us look at this in reverse, or we've been taught to look at this in reverse because we think we're supposed to follow the mind, follow the guidance of the mind. The mind is the authority. It always knows what we should be doing. It's here to make decisions. But not in human design. We don't believe that. The body really needs to be the guiding force here, or else the mind does not have what it needs to thrive. Now, what does this mean when it comes to your profile lines? Well, it means a few things, but the most important one for you to know is that in order to play out your conscious profile line at its highest level, in order to get the gifts out of it, in order to feel like you're really fulfilling what you're motivated to do, because remember, this is like what you see as you, what you're trying to do, what you're drawn to, you need to give the unconscious line line what it needs because it's basically like the gas for your conscious line. Your unconscious line is really what's going to keep you going as you play out your conscious line. So it's going to be what you quote unquote go to or fall back on when you need to get to the next level with or deepen or like quote unquote get more gas for your conscious line. So we'll dive into this for each profile, but for example, I'm a 5-1 profile. So I need the foundation of the 1 line to play out my 5 line. And then when I'm playing out my 5 line, there are going to be times when I'm like, ooh, okay, kind of like hit an end here. I got to go back to my 1 line and get what I need there. So I got to give my body, my 1 line body, what it needs. And then that helps me move forward and get to the next level with my 5 line. It's interesting, huh? And before I go forward, I want to make something really, really clear because this is important too. You are already using your profile. You can't not be because it's who you are. And you will be who you are until you are not you anymore because you don't exist. You are not on this mortal plane anymore. So you will always be playing out your profile. You've always been playing out your profile. And also in human design, there is no good nor bad. There is no right nor wrong. Things just are. So no matter how you're doing this, you can't get it wrong. You cannot fail at your profile. So even if you don't do what I recommend in this video, which is fine anyway, it's your life, live it how you please, you're still going to be playing this stuff out. It just might not be in a way that really serves and nourishes you. It may not serve other people that well, but you're never not going to be doing it. Just may look a little distorted and feel more difficult. So here's how this video is going to work and how you can use it. So I want you to look at the second number in your profile line. Again, that's your unconscious profile line, and then go to the timestamp in the description for that line. So for example, if you're a 6-3 profile, I want you to go to the 3-line timestamp. And then I'll explain what that line means for your body and what your body needs. And then we'll talk a little bit about it for your unique profile itself. So for the 3-line timestamp, we will talk about the 1-3 and the 6-3 profiles. And the other thing I just want to tell you really, really quick, I'm not really going to go into like actual physical like nutritional body needs. That's just not really my jam. That's not really what I use human design for, although many people do. And you can learn what that is through human design. Like there are resources for that. But I actually recommend Gene Keys. If you look at your unconscious sun placement, which is called your radiance sphere, then look at the line that it's going to be the line that your unconscious line is. Look at the description for that line that you have there. And that will tell you a little bit more about like how that's actually connected to your physical body. When we're talking about this here, like I'm just going to be talking about how your body is guiding you to things like intuitively, and it's going to like crave certain things energetically, maybe like situations or kinds of connections, time alone, that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that we'll be talking about here. Okay, so if you have the 1 line, aka the investigator, as your unconscious profile line, your body needs to feel like you really have found or created a solid foundation for yourself, usually based on what you know and what you have learned. So what do I mean by this? Well, the 1 line is called the investigator because it's supposed to dig into something, learn all about it, get the knowledge about it, flip over every stone, to the point where it can say, I know this, I have what I need to back up that I know it, whether that's for myself or for others. And this is usually, again, in terms of facts, information, but it can be anything that really makes you feel like you have this solid and stable foundation on which you can stand. So this also means that until you feel like you have that, you will probably feel too shaky or just in some way, maybe you can't explain why, not ready to move forward. And that's because you do need that foundation first. And of course, there does come a time where you finally need to take action. You can't spend your entire life just trying to turn over each and every stone. There are too many stones in the world. You'll never do it. And you don't need to know everything, just enough to really form the basis for you to work off of. Like you need to feel like you have found your truth in this thing and you can stand on that. So for example, when I started giving human design readings, I didn't know nearly as much as I do now, and I still don't know everything, but I also didn't take opportunities that would require me to have as much information as I do now. You know, back then, I just wrote articles and gave readings and did podcast episodes based on what I knew, and I worked at that level. So, you know, I had the foundation that I needed. And then when it was time for me to share and teach at a different level, I retreated and went back and further solidified for myself, things for myself. So I just learned more. But, you know, with all of this said, it's just really important for you to know that I wouldn't recommend you rush yourself here just because you think that you should make the leap now. If you have something in front of you that your mind is saying, like, oh, this is a great opportunity, I really should do this, but there's this part of your body that's kind of like holding you back, like, this feels shaky, then maybe you do need time to dig into it a little bit more. Because remember, this is the foundation that you are working off of. So it is important for you to feel like you know enough. People who don't have the second line in their profile as a one line, or maybe as a four line, because they kind of share this foundation thing in common. But other people who don't have that, they may not really understand that. And they may, in trying to help you, they may kind of try to push you a little bit to go forward more quickly, thinking that it's just fear that you need to break through. So, for example, I'm a 5-1 profile, and my father was a 3-5 profile, which is so different. We carry the 5 line in common, but the 1 line and the 3 line are very different. And the 3-5, they don't need that same solid base before starting. In fact, that's going to kind of hold them back. So it's different from people like you and me. And my dad, when I was a kid, he'd just be like, come on, stop holding yourself back. Just do it now. Just jump in. And I would be this child gripping the seat, like, I'm not ready. And he wouldn't understand that even though he thought I was ready, I was just too afraid and I should go, that wasn't really the case. And it wouldn't have been fair for me, on the other hand, to expect him to work in the way that I did. Like, hey, dad, you need to dig into this more. You need to learn more about this. Like, he just needed room to be messy and have his 3-line experience, whatever. That's how he learned what he was supposed to learn. The other thing to know is that with a 1-line body, you will probably have periods of time where you go out with your 1-line knowledge, and that's fine for a while, but then you feel drawn away from showing up so much in whatever way you were doing that. And then you need to be on your own, or at least out of the spotlight, in order to firm up that foundation at a new level. And that's normal. Your body is doing this in order to build on what you have to help you get to the next level. Now, if you have a 4-1 profile, you are here to share what you have investigated and gotten to the bottom of with your close circle. So not what you have investigated with them. Sorry, that was a very confusing sentence. What you have investigated, you will be sharing that with your close circle. So the people you know, like, and trust. These people are going to be the pipeline through which you share your gifts and make your impact, and also through which you receive opportunities to play out your purpose, move forward, and get what you want. So your kind of motivating factor here, or your conscious motivating factor here, is with your 4-line to share with your people. But in order to do that, you need to have your 1-line foundation. So you're going to experience times where you really feel like you need to pull back from your people and pull back and work on creating that stability through what you know, or at least figure out what it is you believe about something. And then you can go back to your people and share. And at the very least, in order to serve these people, just know that you're going to have to feel like you have a foundation of what you know built for yourself first. Now, if you have a 5-1 profile, you are here to quote unquote universalize. So share or spread on a large scale what you have learned or found through your investigation. In particular, it's usually going to be some kind of solution or some kind of fix that you have come up with or you've realized based on what you've learned. So it's similar to the 4-1 in that the motivating factor here consciously for you is to share this stuff with other people. But it's different in that it's going to be different kinds of people. It's usually going to be people that you don't know very well. And you're using your knowledge to, again, offer some kind of solution, which the 4-line doesn't necessarily do. So in order to really effectively solve a problem or solve problems and help other people, you need to know your shit. You need to have that solid base in what you know and what you have learned and what you've investigated with your 1-line. That is your gift that you're going to share with the world. It's how much you know and then how you use that to go in and fix things, probably in a way that nobody has come up with yet or thought of. Also, the 5-line is very easy for others to project expectations and hopes and dreams onto. And that's really what it's here for. So people can expect 5-lines, especially 5-1s, to always have the answer and be able to solve a problem, which in some ways is really great because then people open up and let the 5-1 in more easily to do its job. They're like, oh my God, you're so great. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Come on in. But that's the problem, is that these projections people put onto you as a 5-1, they're not always accurate projections. They're not always actually things that you can do or provide a solution for. And so when you as a 5-1 take that on, but you can't fulfill it, you can probably meet with a lot of disappointment or resistance or even upset from other people. So as a 5-1, it's really important to ask yourself, like, regardless of what this person who's asking for my help is saying about me or what they think I can do I feel like I have that one line knowledge that I really need to help them? If the answer is yes and you want to do it, those are the two things you have to answer. Can I and do I want to? um, then you go ahead and do it. But if no, then it's probably because you don't have the foundation you want or the foundation that you have created. It's not for this situation. So you say no. Now, if you have the 2 line, aka the hermit, as your unconscious profile line, your body needs you to throw yourself into what you are naturally talented at and naturally like doing, and really trust that your natural talents are going to be enough to get you by because they are the thing that are going to help you get by. And also, you're going to need a lot of time alone. So here's why I say that. The 2 line is all about natural genius. If you have this in your profile, there is something that you are just so talented at or even very, very skilled at just because you are. And the way that you develop and use this isn't through instruction from others. It's not from learning through a book. It's not even really through going out and like trying and failing with the thing over and over again and learning through that experience. It's just by letting yourself do it a lot in the organic way that you are drawn to it. So the 2 line is very raw, it's very natural, it's very organic, and it's meant to be. It's not necessarily supposed to be this refined thing or this refined approach to what you're doing because it's just what emerges when you do what you like to do. Like when you give yourself freedom and space to move around and like become a part of the thing you're doing and just immerse yourself in it and like lose yourself in it. The 2 line is the dancer becoming the dance, as I pretty much always say to describe this line. So this means that in order for your conscious profile line to do its thing, you need to not just get involved with and, lose yourself in what you are talented at and what you like doing, but you need to learn to rely on your talent. Like, know that your talent is, again, enough to get you by. And in fact, it is the thing that will get you by. But you need to do it and trust it for it to develop. So it's not so much about looking at this and saying like, does this look refined? Does this look like I'm doing this the right way? Does it look like I have the certifications to say that I am good at this thing? No, it's about going in and kind of quote unquote learning on the job or like getting the gist and then just kind of moving forward with it. Now, I also mentioned that you need time alone, and this is very, very true. It's why the 2 line is called the hermit. And the reason for this is that the 2 line can't really have people interrupting them or getting too involved with what the 2 line is doing. The 2 line needs to be left alone to discover how it likes to do things and how it will be really good at something, which is usually a very unstructured process that the 2 line can't explain to somebody else, including people who are watching you and asking you, why are you doing it that way? So the 2 line is usually like, I'm going to go over here. Please don't follow me. Just let me do my thing. And that's normal. That's to be expected with the 2 line. It needs that. And it's in those times of hermiting that the 2 line really thrives and grows into something amazing with whatever it's doing. So it's really, really normal for you to need that separation from others. It's not a bad thing. It's actually really important for the 2 line. And I'll tell you as well that each of the lines, 1, 2, and 3, for one reason or another, they need to get away from something in order to grow. So with the 1 line, it's like, I need to go build my foundation on something. I need to learn more. So I kind of need to be in solitude a little bit for that, or I at least need to like pull away from being in the spotlight. For the 3 line, it's like, I just need to get away from this thing because I've experimented with it and now I need freedom to move on to the next thing. And for the 2 line, it's that you just can't really have other people getting into your process as much. And the 2 line just doesn't really like being watched or seen. It's like, leave me alone. Why are you here? So it's normal for most people to need alone time, but for you it's going to look more classically like hermiting. Like, where did that person go? Why do you need so much alone time? Very normal for you. Now, if you have a 5-2 profile, you are here to quote unquote universalize, so share or spread on a large scale your natural talents, or use what you are naturally talented at to universalize something. In particular, it will usually be some kind of solution or some kind of fix because that's what the 5 line is here to do. So in order for you to really serve people and solve the problems that you're here to solve, your conscious 5 line needs you to allow yourself to go through that 2 line process. It needs you to embrace what you're naturally talented at and also give yourself time alone to work on it. You are not a 5-1, so you don't need to be doing this like investigating like we do. We don't need you to question so much like, do I know all the facts about this? Like, how far have I dug into this? And of course you want to be informed, right? But the bigger thing here is trusting that your natural talent is what will carry you through, and it will. And the better you get at trusting that, the more you rely on that, and then the better you get at doing it because you're just throwing yourself into it. And then the more effectively you will help other people with your talents. And then the more people you will help as well. If you are a 6-2 profile, you are here to be a role model with your natural talent or talents. So that could mean that you will be a role model for others on how to use your talents and trust them, or actually, and or it could be both. You will use your talents to help you become a role model for others. So I think a really great example of both of these being true for someone is Stevie Nicks. She used her gifts for songwriting and performance to become a really well-known role model for other people. And she also is a role model for trusting your talents and abilities and just being able to go with it. Like, she has a very organic style and process when it comes to creating music. She's said before to people who have like critiqued her music, like, well, that's just the way I do it. That's just the way I create this, right? It's not something she can explain. It just comes out organically. By the way, you're the only ones I've given a celebrity example for so far in this video, which is honestly less about you and more about the fact that I love Stevie Nicks. But anyway, so the thing about 6-2s, which is an additional note for you really, is that the 6 line, your conscious line, really feels like it has sort of a responsibility. And in truth, it does. It's the responsibility to be the living example for others of what is possible. In particular, what is possible when you're living as your authentic self. So that's a beautiful thing, but what you have to know as a 6-2 is that you will naturally do this for others when you embrace your 2-line-ness, when you let things be easy, when you get into your flow, when you just follow what you're naturally talented at and don't question that so much. You do not have to push yourself into things that feel hard or get a ton of certifications or look like you did things the quote unquote right way in order of being worthy of being a role model for others. It is just about embracing your natural talents that are going to get you there. Those are going to be the foundation for you to becoming the role model. So if you want to be a role model for others in a way that's really going to help them, it's about owning that. If you have the 3-line, aka the martyr, as your unconscious line in your profile, your body needs a lot of space to experiment, try things out, and challenge the way things are now, and possibly even break down what's been built, including the things that you have built. And it also needs a lot of freedom. So here's the reason for all of that and what I mean by that. The 3-line is here to experiment. It's here to go in and see what works and what doesn't work by doing it themselves, by getting their hands dirty, by getting involved, by trying it. That's how it learns. And it's also how it helps the world, because in one way or another, whether the 3-line sees it or not, everyone else benefits from the results of the personal experience and experimentation of the 3-line. So I always say with the 3-line, y'all are out there doing the work. You are doing the work for us without even realizing it. But the thing is that once the 3-line has that information that it's needed from its experimentation, it's not necessarily going to stay forever in what it's doing. It's kind of like here for a good time, not a long time. And it's almost exactly the opposite of the 1-line, which is here to build a solid and sturdy foundation, something to stand on, something that doesn't break down. The 3-line is not about that. The 3-line is about going in and trying it out, and whether it works or not, it has the information it needs to move on now. And if anything, like the 3-line is here to like come over to the foundation with a hammer and like hit it and be like, all right, what's going to stand up, right? Well, whatever fell down or whatever stood up, we now know. So it's almost about like breaking down those foundations. And the theme of the 3-line, which isn't always mentioned in human design descriptions of the 3-line nowadays, but is very, very helpful, is bonds made and broken. So it's literally about both the process of going in and connecting with something, getting involved, trying it out, like throwing yourself into it, but then also popping out. So that means that the 3-line needs to feel like it's not going to be trapped forever in something. Like, even if it ends up staying with something, it still needs to feel like it has room to breathe and leave. So it wants to go in and experiment, and then if it's not working or like there's something that happens, it can peace out. It just doesn't want to feel trapped. And that's not even what it's here for, because it needs to be able to go try new things and do something different. And again, this break, this may not be forever. Like it could be temporary, like you just need a breather from this thing. It could be that you just need to get away from what you're studying for a semester, or you need to escape from your person for the afternoon, or just take a drive, or go to the movies, or hang out with a different person. But there will be times when you feel this pull, like, I need to escape. I cannot be trapped with this foundation or this thing. And then let yourself, because it's either that you're going to experiment with something new that will deepen what you are in right now. So you come back to that foundation that you've created, or you come back to whatever it is that you have, been involved with, and you just do it better. Or, it could be that it's time for you to leave this thing behind and move on to the next thing. But either way, it's not going to hurt you to give yourself that space, because you then will be doing the correct thing for yourself. So if you are a 1-3 profile, you are so fascinating to me because you are this living contrast. You are here to deeply investigate something, get to the bottom of it, learn all about it, and then create some kind of foundation for yourself based on that knowledge. And then go out and see how it holds up in real life through experimentation. So many 1-3s are fantastic informational authorities. They're these eternal students. They're always learning and researching and diving down rabbit holes to create this very firm base of knowledge on which they can stand. And consciously, that's what the 1-3 wants. Like it's drawn to getting all the information. That's what they think they're doing, and that's what they focus on consciously. However, it's just as important for them to go out and try this stuff in real life and see what stands up and what breaks down. So they don't always consciously love that idea that they're going to need to go do that, because then there's this chance that this foundation that they have built could break. And then what, right? Like, one lines love stability. But here's the thing. As a 1-3, again, going out and experimenting with what you've learned is actually how you make your foundation of your one line even stronger. This is how you really fortify what you know, because you now know what will actually stand up to the test of reality. You know what's actually true for you. 1-3s need that experience in real life, or else they're not truly going to be able to integrate the knowledge that they have found. And like, you'll feel that. You'll feel like something's missing, right? So you're always naturally going to be drawn to going out and like trying and seeing this stuff to see if it works. So both sides of this are really important for you to really feel stable with this stuff. And at the end of the day, this can only help you. If you are a 6-3 profile, you are here to be a role model using the information that you have gained through all of your personal experiences, whether those look like successes or they look like failures. So the interesting thing about you guys, which is the same for the 3-6 profile, is that you are already kind of going to be doing that with the 6 line on its own, because the 6 line lives its first 30 years as the 3 line, meaning that personal experience and experimenting and getting involved with life, it's already really important for you to effectively show up as the role model. It's already going to be part of your life. However, unlike profiles like the 6-2 or the 4-6, which eventually phase out of this experimental part of their lives, you will always be doing and always be learning from this. So as the 6-3, it's really important to embrace that. Allow it, because really what you will model for other people is how to always continually learn from life and life experiences, and to let that be okay. Like, you are a role model for others on how to roll with the punches and look at life as a learning experience, which is something that you are very naturally good at as a 6-3. My friend is a 6-3, and he is so interesting to me because he's so responsible and wise and like big picture in some ways, and I can see that, like we see him as kind of like dad, but then he also does this stuff that makes me look at him and I'm like, why did you do that? He does these things that look kind of like messy, or like he's falling over his feet as he's learning to walk this walk of life. And that's totally fine. Like, that's what he's here to be, because he actually needs to do those things that help keep him involved with life with the 3 line in order to be that role model for others on how you can be both. Like, you can be wise, you can be mature, you can be a leader and an example for others, and you can still be messy. That's what the 6-3 models for the rest of us. And it's so important and it's so beautiful. So in order to be that 6 line role model, that's your conscious line, the thing that you are consciously driven to do, you need to allow yourself to engage in that 3 line messiness, really. Now, if you have a 4 line, aka the opportunist, as your unconscious profile line, that means that your body will really need you to feel like you are connected to, quote unquote, your people. So the people that you know, like, and trust, in order to effectively play out and share the gifts of your conscious profile line. The other way to look at this is like, you need, as a 4 line, to feel like you have deep connection in your life in some way. So the 4 line is called the opportunist, not because because it's this like slimy, person who takes advantage of others. It's really quite the opposite. In fact, it's because it's really good at seeing an opportunity or something that should be shared with others or something that could help others, especially those who are close to the foreline, and then externalizing that or sharing it with them. So for you in this case, it will either be something that you have learned through investigation and fact finding, things like that, or something that you're very naturally talented at and good at. It's one of those two things that you are here to really share with the people around you. So the relationships and the life of a four line is very, very important to them playing out their purpose and doing what they're here to do, because your relationships are essentially the pipeline through which you will both put your quote unquote stuff out into the world, and then also how you will receive quote unquote stuff, whether it's job opportunities, information, personal growth, a meeting with a romantic partner, like whatever it is. Like opportunities will find you through the people who you already know and who you like and who you kind of feel like at least buddies with. So the quality of your relationships is actually really what's important. These need to be people who really feel like your people, who get you and are worth the time you invest into them. Like they don't necessarily need to feel like people you can go deep with and talk about your grandest dreams with, but ones who actually feel like true meaningful connection that you want to hang around, like you really enjoy the connection. So it's not like me with my five line, where I actually tend to make my biggest impact on people who I don't know very well and who don't know me very well. For you as a four line, it's not that. The other thing I want to tell you is that if you don't have your like quote unquote people around you, like don't worry, I don't want to freak you out. You're not doomed. It's not like you could never play out your purpose or like opportunities will never find you. First off, following your energy type's strategy and authority will lead you to the right people for you. And then also with the four line, it's more about like getting to know people. So at the very least, it's about creating a rapport. And it's also about not wasting your time on the people who you can't, create a true connection that you enjoy with. So the more time you spend developing relationships instead with the people you just like plain and like and who get you and who you get, even if it doesn't look like it's contributing to playing out your purpose or finding a job or making money or whatever, it really is. It's actually one of the most important things for you. And that's how you're going to do it. So it's not about going out and networking and meeting all these different kinds of people and like, oh my God, like this person is the opportunity to get, the job that I'm looking for or etc. It's about deepening the relationship with the people you already like to frickin' be around. Now, if you are a 1-4 profile, you are here to deeply investigate something. So get to the bottom of it, learn all about it, and then create some kind of foundation for yourself based on that. And then you're here to go share that with the people who you have built true, authentic connection with, or you've at least built some kind of rapport with. So again, if you don't feel like you have that right now, that's okay. Don't worry about it. But just understand that for the 1-4, in order to most effectively share what you've learned and ultimately become and be seen as an authority on it for others, which is what the 1-4 is meant for, connecting with people and feeling that kinship, that closeness is going to be important. So getting to know them, letting them get to know you, building a relationship with them in some way, like this is how you will make your impact with what you have learned through your investigating. And when you don't know what you are supposed to investigate next, or you feel stalled, or life feels kind of stalled, or you just like can't get into it, go hang out with your people. Go to your people. There's something there for you in being around them. That will provide you with what you need to then go deeper with creating whatever kind of foundation you're trying to create with your one line. Now, if you are a 2-4 profile, you are here to share your natural talents, skills, and abilities that you've developed while you're on your own, hermiting from the world with the people closest to you. So these are also the people who are going to recognize you the most or first for these talents that you have, even if you don't see them yourself at first. That's very common for the 2-4 profile. And these are also going to be the people who call you out of your little hermit crab shell to come share your gifts. So for the 2-4, your body needs the right people around you. It needs the people who give you this feeling of stability and support your, correct circle in order to actually externalize your gifts, get the recognition you need, move forward in life, get the opportunities you want, and make the impact that you're here to make. And also to feel safe enough to do that. Like the 2-line it can be a little hesitant to be out where people are seeing it, but the people who connect to you through your 4-line, your buddies, your people, even maybe your family, whatever, those are going to be the ones who give you the supportive environment and also push you a little bit when they're like, okay, come on out, like no more hiding, let's do this. So you need those connections, that foundation with your people to feel like you can come out and share those talents and gifts. Now, if this feels like that's the case for everyone, like, well, everyone needs a supportive environment, right? Like everyone needs someone to cheer them on. Yes and no. For when we're looking at the 2-5 profile here, they're not here to be called out by like their close people. It's probably going to be those who don't actually know them very well at all. It could very well be a stranger. They don't need this kind of connection that you do. But for you as a 2-4, if you're like, oh, what's my purpose? Which is like such a 2-4 thing to ask. If you're like, oh, how am I going to use my talents? Or like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like the people closest to you in your little 4-line circle, the people you love, the people who get you and who feel like these like cozy connections, these are going to be the people who help you do that and help you externalize this. Now, if you have the 5-line, aka the heretic, as your unconscious profile line, your body needs a few things in order for you to express the gifts of your conscious profile most effectively. So, the first thing that it needs is for you to be able to connect with lots of different kinds of people and, in some ways, be seen by a lot of people. Because the 5-line is here to quote unquote universalize something. Usually, that's some kind of solution or solutions. And it's also here to be called into action by others who need its help and see that the 5-line can do that because that's what the 5-line is really here for. It's here to get involved and provide some kind of fix. It's here to quote unquote save the day, so to speak. So you do need to be somewhat visible to others and you do need to allow yourself to kind of flow with relationships staying or going. Because the way that the 5-line makes these connections, it's not the same as the 4-line, which really does this deep, developed foundational relationship kind of thing where you really get to know the person and you build this for maybe for a long time or it's long lasting. For the 5-line, we're not really necessarily here to do that. It's not that you couldn't have long lasting relationships, but when it comes to like playing out your purpose through what you do, it's just not as important because we're here to interact with too many different kinds of people for that really to be possible. And it's just not really the way that our aura works because people are like we're supposed to have this aura where like at least for a short time people can project some kind of expectation onto us or see us in this really positive light so they let us in to go do our work and go do our job, right? In longer term relationships sometimes that can wear off, so the 5-line's kind of here to get in and get out after doing its work. Now the other thing though is that with the 5-line in your profile you do really need to be good at knowing what you are able to do for others and what you are not able to do for them and what you're here to do and what you're not here to do. So can you really help this person with what they need? Because again, as a 5-line, you have this aura onto which people project their hopes, dreams, and expectations much more easily than they would onto another kind of aura. And again, in some ways, this is great because you'll be given access to something that you, as the 5-line, need to give your 2 cents on or you need to fix because people will be like, "Oh my God, you're the one. You're the one who's here to save us. You can do it. Yeah, come on in." But the thing about projections is that sometimes they're totally wrong, and they're totally wrong for you as a 5-line to try to fulfill. So they're not something that you can actually do for other people, whether that means, helping them with something or just being the person they thought you were. And when the 5-line can't live up to that expectation that they took on, usually just to make the other person happier because they really do want to help or save the day, but they can't actually do that, that leads them to doing the wrong things for the wrong people, feeling unfulfilled, disappointing themselves and others, wasting their own time, oftentimes getting blamed for things that aren't really their fault because people were like, we have this expectation, you didn't like live to it. And then the 5-line can really lose people's trust. So in order for you to really use your conscious profile in a way that's going to work for you and also for others, you're going to need to be really good with those boundaries. Ask yourself, 1, can I do this? And 2, do I want to do this? Do I feel intuitively drawn to doing this? Does it feel right? And you need to answer yes to both of those things for it to be right for you. Also, the last thing I want to say is that because the 5-line is here to change things, it usually has to challenge the way that things are now, which means that the 5-line is very dynamic and it's very, very, very helpful. It's here to provide the solution and the fix. But we can also be naturally polarizing and controversial and kind of triggering to people because we're here to call out what's not working. And that just makes some people really uncomfortable and mad for some reason. Now, as a 5-1, I understand that because I see myself that way. It's my personality line. It's my conscious line. Like I'm aware of that. I identify with it. But for you, this isn't going to be something you identify with quite as much on a regular basis. So you may do or say something and not realize it's like a pretty hot take. Or the way that you're approaching this may just seem a little polarizing naturally. You're probably not trying to be that way, but it may be received in that way, which again is not a bad thing because it's really helpful. It wakes people up. And also, just as many people will love that you are this way. They will love you for this reason. But this is just for you to know. Usually, like two fives and three fives are like, I don't understand why everyone's getting so mad at me for saying this thing. Now, if you have a 2-5 profile, you are here to universalize some kind of solution or solutions using your natural talents and abilities. Maybe the solution is your talent itself, or it's what you've learned through honing your talent. So the 2-5 profile is very interesting to me because just like the 2-4, you see yourself as the hermit. Like you may not see yourself as the leader, the authority, the problem solver, the hero that is the 5 line. Like you may even think like, I don't want to do that. Like, why do I need to do that? And you may not realize that you're here to use your talents in that way, but you will always have people calling you to action and calling you to use these things to help out. And you really need that. You need to let yourself be seen, even if you don't accept all the calls that people make on you, because not all of them will be correct for you as a 5 line. But your body does need that in order to have opportunities not just to use its talents, but also to develop its talents and get really good at what it's doing. So you will get these calls to action from other people, most likely people that you don't know that well, into situations or roles or tasks or whatever. And it's through those that you will be learning on the job, as 2 lines do. And you'll get really, really good and you'll be able to help people even more as a 5 line. Because the 2 line does need time alone to develop its talents, but it also needs to have situations in which it learns to trust its talents and rely on them. That's how they get better. So by letting yourself be seen and called out, you give yourself the chances to really shine with your 2 line. And again, just follow what feels right for you. It doesn't have to be every call. Ask yourself, can I do this? Do I want to do this? If the answer to both is yes, then there you go. And I'll also tell you that for the 2-5, it's actually quite rare that you will say yes to both. So don't be surprised if most of the time the answer is no, no, thank you. That's okay. You're not doing something wrong. Just wait for the one that feels truly correct for you. Don't rush yourself. Now, if you have a 3-5 profile, you are here to universalize some kind of solution or solutions based on what you have experimented with for yourself. So the things that you've gone in and tried in order to see how they work or if they work at all. So you do need to experiment in order to help others. Like that's always going to be part of your process. You need to get in there. You need to get your hands dirty. You need to learn all about it by experiencing it yourself. But you also need to get involved and help other people in order to get the experiences that you need. So if you're like, what? How does that work? Well, you're going to be learning through trial and error in how you help people and what you're here to help them with. So in order to get the 3-line experience that you need, you kind of need to let yourself be seen as the 5 line, and you also need to go get involved with people and see what you can do, because that in itself is going to be at least part of the experience for you. So, and like this is how you get better at providing solutions for people. So that means that it's not about like holing away and doing your work that way like the 2-5 would. Like the 2-5 needs to like hermit itself. It's just not going to be that way for you. The 3-5 is so much more about like learning as you go and kind of just jumping in and seeing what happens. So I mentioned in the 1-line section that my dad was a 3-5 profile and he was so like this. He could not understand why I, as a 1-line profile, as a 5-1 who is here to create the foundation first, he couldn't understand why I couldn't just go out and get involved and do it now. Because for me, I have to build the foundation first and then I go offer the solution based on that. That process is very important for me. But for him, he was kind of like the opposite of me. He needed to go get involved with people and try to solve a problem in order to get the experience he needed. And then that would help him create a solution that actually worked better next time. So it was, from that trial and error of like being a 5-line that he went through that he got really good at providing solutions. He had to go in, get his hands dirty, and look a little faster and messier than me. So basically, what your body needs is for you to allow yourself to be seen, get involved, see what really solves a problem, and then that's what gives you the space for experimentation. That's what gives you the space to have the really powerful experience that will make you the 5-line who helps change the world through what you have learned. Now, if you have the 6-line, also known as the role model, as your unconscious profile line, you are here in some way to be a role model for others. So you are here to be the living example who others look to as a reference, possibly even an aspirational figure for themselves. And in particular, you're meant to be an example of how to live as your authentic self and show everyone all the good that that can do for them. But something important to know about the sixth line is that it's not immediately this role model from day one. It needs to go through life in order to become that. It needs lived experience. So for the first 30 years of its life, the sixth line actually lives as the three line, which is all about trial and error, learning through experience and experimentation, etc. Then from ages 30 to 50, it kind of pulls back from life and it's not as involved as the three line is. And this is in order to integrate all that experience and turn it into wisdom. So this is called the on the roof period of your life as a sixth line from 30 to 50. And then finally at age 50, you quote unquote step off the roof and you now start showing up as the role model. So, what does this mean for your unconscious line? For the first 30 years, letting yourself experiment, learn through experience, fail at things, struggle, and just live life as a three line does is really important for you because that's how you're going to tap into the gifts of your conscious profile line. Like, you cannot do that to the extent you need to if you're holding yourself back from living life because you're afraid of how things go or you're afraid of failing or getting it wrong. Like, you need this sometimes hard earned one experience in order to actually shine as the role model. You cannot do that without having the experience itself, whether it looks like a good or a bad thing in the moment. It's all a learning experience. It's so important for you. Now, from ages 30 and beyond, really what your body is going to need is for you to allow yourself to step back. Don't force yourself to go get so involved. Don't judge yourself for being a little bit more removed or starting to go up to this level where now other people who you felt at the same level as can't really meet you anymore. Like, this will probably be particularly difficult for my 4/6s who will have to let go of some people and start pruning people from their lives. But it's part of the process. Around age 30, you really will start noticing that you're drawn to releasing some of these people, lifestyles, behaviors that you've been engaging with. This is really normal, but your conscious self may be like, WTF, I can't do that, like I can't let go. But your body needs it in order for you to have the situations and the circumstances in which you're really going to be able to play out your conscious profile in the best way for you. Like, this is a crucial part of the process for the sixth line is this period between 30 and 50. Finally, for your entire life through each of these three eras, your sixth line is a lot about trust. It's this innocent trust in life. It's not just this trust that life is going exactly the way it's meant to for you. It's that things will work out in the highest way possible. So you need to trust your trust, basically. You have to trust the part of you that says, I don't know, I think it's okay and it's going to work out, right? I believe in something higher. I believe in its perfected form. And that's what's going to keep you going. So you need to trust that it's okay to trust life, even if it doesn't quote unquote look smart, because this may not look smart, but I can tell you it is wise and it is where the wisdom of the sixth line comes from. So if you have a 3/6 profile, you are here to be a role model for others using the information that you've gained through all of your personal experiences, whether those look like successes and failures. And it's times 2 because you have a 3 and a 6 in your profile. So the interesting thing about you guys, which is the same for the 6/3 profile, is that you're already kind of doing this with the sixth line on its own, right? Because the sixth line lives as the three line for the first 30 years of its life, and it's also all about learned experience. However, unlike profiles such as the 6/2 and the 4/6, which will eventually phase out of this experimental part of their lives, you will always be doing this and you will always be learning from this. So as the 3/6, first off, it's important to embrace that. But the thing I will really point out here for the 3/6 is that whole trust thing we talked about. Because the three line, it can be a little pessimistic, which is totally understandable because you're here to spend your life finding what does and doesn't work. And a lot of the time, things won't work and it will feel like that's all you see. All you see is things not working, things failing. You may feel like you are failing. But that sixth line is the part of your energy that says, hey, this is for something. Like, I trust and I believe and I have hope that this is for something. It's going to work out. And so your body won't let you fully give up. It's that hope and that trust and also that innate sense of, responsibility that your sixth line carries that is going to provide you with the foundation to keep experimenting, to keep going, to keep trying with your conscious three line. So your body needs you to engage with that childlike hope and belief in life. It's what you're here for. It's not just going to get you through those tough times as a 3/6. it's also going to make you the role model for resilience, adaptability, and learning from experience because you're not just going to use your experience to be a role model, you're going to be a role model for learning through experience. Like you will show people how to get through life. Now, if you're a 4-6 profile, you're here to be a role model based on what you've learned through deep connection in a relationship, or a role model for how to create deep connection and relationship, or both. I have seen that. But either way, what you learn through experience when it comes to relationships, this is key for you. So again, the 6 line goes through the first 30 years of its life as a 3 line. And what that means for you as a 4-6 is that it's during this time that you will usually have most of the experiences that where you go through like either a difficult time trying to connect with others or feeling like you just don't know how to create a relationship that actually works, or you feel like you have to change who you are because otherwise you won't have deep connections with others, or you get your heart stomped on. It's totally possible. Like people break your heart because the 3 line learns through experience. It learns through what does work, but also what doesn't work. And, even when it's not trying to do that, even when it's not looking for that answer. So 4-6s are essentially here to experiment with relationships, especially during the first 30 years of their lives. And that may look to you like you fail at relationships, which is just so not the case. There is no such thing as failure, I think, in general, but especially not for the 3 line or the 6 line. It is all something that you learn to get better at this thing. And that also means that it is crucial for you to use the 6 line trust that you have within you to keep your 4 line heart open. In order for you to create these relationships that you're really looking for and through which you'll get the wisdom that you're here to model for others, you need to allow yourself to believe in the higher levels of life and love. And when I say love, I don't necessarily mean romantic love. Like I mean the essence of love, connection, human kindness, vulnerability, opening up to other people. You have to let yourself go through these experiences to get what you need in order to be that role model. And also just to have these awesome relationships later on where you get your needs met and you have the understanding you're looking for. And also as a 4 line where you create the kinds of connections that will bring you opportunities that you're looking for. Because remember that the 4 line both makes its impact and receives things through those close, authentic relationships. And then you learn who to make these connections with as you move through life with the experiences of the 6 line. So you get really, really good at these things as time goes on. So my note to you as a 4-6 is, listen, I know that in the first 30 years of your life, like after that, it may feel really difficult to keep your heart open, but this is for a reason. It's to make you better at keeping your heart open and make the connections that are really going to serve you, and also through which you will learn that wisdom that you're here to share and model for others.